Good morning. I hope I'm audible enough, and I hope the online participants can hear me. Um, Welcome to the networking session titled Codes and Constitution Empowering African Parliamentarians. My name is Millennium Anthony. I am the coordinator from Youth IGF in Tanzania, but I'm also an ITU Generation Connect Youth Envoy, but also a founder of STEMHAR Network. And today I'm going to be a facilitator for this roundtable discussion today. So this session is designed to foster a meaningful dialogue between African parliamentarians, multi-stakeholder participants, and policy experts as we explore the intersection between code and constitution principles. Our goal is to share insights, highlight challenges, and identify opportunities to create a robust digital framework for Africa. So first of all, I'll just to give a highlight of the session overview, how we are going to conduct it. So first, we'll have introduction from our speakers here, and then we'll have the two speakers here will give just a brief presentation, a brief contribution on the topic that we're going to be discussing. And then after that, I'll open the floor to the participants, and then we can have different areas that we are going to be discussing. And then in the end, we're going to close by having a summary of key takeaways and next steps. So now I open the floor to my panelists here. If you are going to introduce yourself in the first round, and then I'll open the floor for you to contribute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Catherine Muma. I'm a senator from Kenya, nominated senator. And at the Senate, I am a member of the Speakers Panel. I am also a vice chair of the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations Committee and the Justice, Legal and Human Rights Committee. But I also represent the Kenyan Senate on the Interparliamentary Union, and I'm a member of the Working Group on Science and Technology in the Interparliamentary Union Working Group. I am also a member of APNIG. APNIG is the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance, which is, I think I can speak about that a little later. But that is what I am, who I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Hi, my name is Honorable Khutsa Mafete, a member of Parliament from Lesotho, a member of APNIG as well, African Parliamentarians on Internet Governance Network. In my Parliament, I sit on a portfolio of Prime Minister's ministries, which hosts Ministry of ICT, Labor, Public Service, and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would now like to welcome the floor to you, Honorable Catherine. If you're going to tell us how is the current state of digital frameworks in Africa? What is the role that parliamentarians do in supporting the digital development and growth in Africa?
Thank you very much. Now, that's a good question, asking about how are the digital frameworks in Africa. Now, Africa is currently has laws that are guiding all sectors. But as you are aware, digital technology is a technology that is cross-cutting. It is going to be relevant in every sector, and it has evolved much faster than policy has evolved. And as it has evolved, we have national executives that are trying to do something about it, but parliaments, I think world over, not just in Africa, parliaments are lagging behind in the sense that as policies are made, as those who work in digital technology they engage largely with the executive governments. And then the parliaments are now playing catch up. And the legislative process usually takes a lot of time. It means the government will bring in a law, and the legislative process will take time, sometimes a year, even more. Or a private member bill will come, will address a particular issue. So you will find that currently, because of the levels of competences of parliaments, which is low, and I believe this is world over, the competences of parliaments on digital technology concerns are low, and because of that, the legal frameworks on digital technology matters are limited in many countries. So if you look at Africa, there is a variation. You'll find that Tanzania will have different laws, Kenya will have different laws, Lesotho will have different laws, South Africa will have different laws. For instance, we have countries that have data protection laws, we have others that don't have any. We have countries that have access to information laws, others don't have any. So that is why when we started realizing the magnitude and the importance of actually engaging as parliaments on issues of policy, parliamentary policy, on digital technology, we formed the African Parliamentary Network on internet governance, precisely to share our views across board and to agree on the best way that we can actually share experiences, learn from each other. So APNIG is made of members from across Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, Western Africa, North Africa, of members who are passionate about trying to do something about policy on internet governance. We have come together and we are now looking to do capacities for our members. We are now looking to developing what we are calling a model law, quote unquote. And a model law is just about getting in place standard minimums that we think would make sense for purposes of legislation around digital governance, but bearing in mind, legislation is across board. So we want to learn, we want to engage in forums like the IGF, ICANN, and any other, so that as parliamentarians we can have the capacities to be able to, from an informed point of view, contribute in our debates and be part of the solution in accelerating any law that would facilitate the proper facilitation of growth in internet, digital technology, as well as provide the safeties, the securities that are required within the sector.
Thank you very much, Honorable, especially for highlighting organizations such as the APNIG, where we see that's a platform for parliamentarians to engage themselves in all these digital works. And coming to you, Honorable, what are the unique challenges that we currently have when it comes to shaping, in Africa especially, digital policies across the continent? Are there any challenges that we currently have in Africa?
Thank you. I think there's a lot of challenges. She's highlighted quite a few, but in my view is that for most of the laws that were expected to be put in place, most of them, they come in pre-modeled from Western countries, from wherever, as opposed to what Africa is supposed to be doing. So, like now we're talking about capacity buildings, we're talking about inclusivity, we're talking about redoing whatever the system that is doing, more especially now that we're into AI or going into AI and digital policies. So my take is what we need to do right now is we just need to, as much as we can do a literal freeze, but now we now need to start getting in all stakeholders in point, and Africa should be put on the forefront of whatever plannings that are there, as opposed to getting what is done and then I think basically that's my take on the challenge that we have. We get things that are already done, and now we cannot adopt to them because they're not modeled for what Africa is doing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable. Okay, now since this is a networking session, I wanted it to be most engaging and interactive. And now I'll open this floor to the participants, both online and on site here. And we're going to have a discussion, and I would like to take contributions from each one of you. And our discussion is going to be on three main pillars. So the first pillar we're going to be discussing is on CORD as legislation, and then the second that we will take is collaboration and multi-stakeholder engagement, as Honorable has said, the importance of multi-stakeholder engagement. And then the last pillar that we're going to be discussing is on the Africa's unique challenges and opportunities. So now I'm going to start with the first pillar, which is CORD as legislation. And my question to you, my participants, is how can African parliamentarians effectively shape technology-driven legislation to ensure inclusivity and innovation? So if any of you is open and ready to contribute on this question, I can pass the mic to you.
I have the same question.
You have the same question. Yes, so if I don't have, now I can start maybe with my here, with my panelists, and then we can come back to you. Okay.
Thank you. I think that the answer to that question, in my view, lies in the question. She made reference to multi-sectoral or multi-stakeholder engagement. And my view is that this is the one area where, as a legislator, I cannot purport to know what is right and just prepare a bill and take it to Parliament. This is the one area where we need greater consultation among all affected stakeholders to define for ourselves what inclusion means. From the statistics that we were given in the opening plenary and from this forum, I think you will have realized that Africa has the least connectivity and also the most expensive. And so access is quite limited for Africa. So as parliaments, we need to start asking ourselves, one, what should the role of government be in facilitating greater access? And what can we do as parliaments in that role? Now, parliaments have the role of representation, of legislation, of oversight, and we also have authority over budgetary allocation. So I think if we define for ourselves what is digital public infrastructure and what role government can play in that, the parliaments can help to invest, to deploy more resources towards facilitating digital public infrastructure across the countries in order to have greater coverage. And we must deliberately start picking the data that will tell us who is unconnected, who is underconnected, whether it is women, whether it is senior citizens, whether it is those in the rural areas, whether it is the urban poor, and define solutions, but put budgetary allocations to ensure that we get that. My view is that if we facilitate, as government, the digital public infrastructure, then we leave the rest to the private sector and other stakeholders to actually move with it. But similarly, for us to do that policy, we need to understand from the stakeholders on the key needs. So as we make this legislation, we also need to find a way of not just moving as Parliament alone, as the executive alone. We need to find a way in which we can get the experts to contribute and guide us on what looks like good law, what is good regulation, what is bad regulation, so that we are able to facilitate. That's my view on that.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I mean, I think for me, I really like the point when you mentioned about data. I think for me, maybe taking, for example, in my country, I think that's really a serious issue. Like, there are some areas that we still do not know, like how, to what extent has the internet penetrated in specific areas. So even like when the government is trying to like to help those areas, they do not know like what specific area, how much resources do we need to invest in a specific area for us to, help in providing internet access. And wait, do we have any contributions now here? Can I have that? Yeah.
I have.
It's not.
Yes, my name is Daniel Molokele, Member of Parliament from Zimbabwe, and a member of APNIC. Just to contribute one or two points, in terms of parliamentarians facilitating inclusivity, I think one of the easiest ways is to make sure that the legal and policy framework is updated to the level that it accommodates all those who are excluded, especially in terms of making it obligatory for the state to set up the necessary infrastructure to increase access especially to the internet. I have in mind our rural populations that are normally excluded. Internet access is a big issue for them. Also that there can be mobile internet facilities in some rural areas so that people can access the internet. Also that MPs can fight during the budget period to make sure that the budget allocation towards ICT is increased in such a way that it funds some of these issues that are raised, especially around infrastructural support for those who are traditionally excluded from the internet, access to the internet. The other issue which is big in my country, in Zimbabwe, is the pricing of data. Data has traditionally been expensive, although I need to concede that Zimbabwe earlier this year gave a license to Starlink, and that has started to create a little bit of competition to the traditional internet service providers. But for the average citizen in Zimbabwe, especially those in local communities and also in rural areas, data remains very expensive. And we have to push for policy frameworks that force the pricing of data to come down so that more average people, citizens, can have access to the internet. The other thing that we need to do is to increase or call for policies that force, especially the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, to create civil awareness and education around internet. You'll find that some people don't even know how to use some of these basic concepts. So around access to internet and digital technologies. So we need awareness, even also through the Ministry of Communications or the Ministry of Broadcasting Services or whatever. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Honorable. Do we have any contribution here? Another contribution that someone would like to contribute before we move to our second pillar? Okay, so let me check with online. Do we have any online participant that want to contribute? Okay, I don't have any hand raised, so I guess we can move to the second pillar. So our second pillar is on collaboration and multi-stakeholder engagement. So we know collaboration is is the key to impactful digital policies. So now my question is, how can parliamentarians engage with technologists, civil societies, and private sectors to ensure policies are both practical and inclusive? So now maybe I can start from the audience. I can repeat the questions. How can parliamentarians engage with technologists, civil societies, and private sector stakeholders to ensure policies are both practical and inclusive? Yes, Honorable.
Thank you. I think in that my simple thought is hostility towards regulators from the private sector and hostility towards consumers from regulators. That's where we have to start off, where we have to find each other, where we say, as parliamentarians and as developers, as people who are there for pre-consumers, that we find a common ground where we say no amount of legislative law it is intended to oppress the other, but it is rather to benefit everybody across the board. So as lawmakers in parliament, I think for most of the time we're always open to receiving whatever input we're getting from developers who are quite actually most resourceful as opposed to what we're doing. So I think it is all in a give or take situation where those on the one end provide to us, and us on this end we receive and we give back to them what is most relevant to the public. I think that's where we need to find each other. We just need to find inclusivity in everything that we do.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Any other? Yes.
Can I add?
Yes.
When it comes to multi-stakeholder engagement, one of the things...
You
can hear me?
Yeah.
One of the things we found out at the Interparliamentary Union working group on science and technology is that our parliaments hardly engage with scientists. So you'll find that parliaments have various committees, but we were yet to find a parliament that has a committee on science and technology. So you will find the scientists in our country are doing their thing, innovating, moving ahead, and Parliament is making policies that sometimes impact them, but we hardly have forums where you have parliamentarians and scientists meeting and talking. And what we are saying in IPU, and IPU is now developing a charter on the ethics of science and technology. What we are saying, it is important now for Parliament to deliberately find the scientists and technocrats within their countries to engage with them so that as we do policies, we are able to factor aspects that are facilitative to the growth of science and technology. But we are also able to engage on the ethical issues of human rights, of safety, so that the science, as the innovation happens, the innovation does not harm human life. So one of the things we need to do, or one of the most important multi-stakeholders that we need to engage with as parliaments, are the scientists and the technocrats. We also need to engage with other interest groups. And the example of Kenya, and I believe it's the example of many places, South Africa, the principle of public participation is a key principle within Parliament, where Parliament are supposed, even as they pass their laws, to conduct public participation so that members of the public, whom they represent, are able to contribute to the laws that they are passing. So if meaningful public participation is done by the parliamentary teams as they pass legislation and policy, it means that we are then able to have that collaboration. But there is also a trait that sometimes when we call for public participation, which we normally put in the newspaper, you will find only maybe 5 people have sent in a memorandum. So you cannot blame us for not taking on what the youth have done when we have advertised for a view on a draft bill on ICT and the youth have not sent in any memorandum. The women have not sent in any memorandum. A particular interest group has not sent in any memorandum. So that engagement means not just the parliament, but even other stakeholders must be ready to do the homework and to be able to then, when we want to pass a law, to bring in a petition and say, in this law we cannot see a clause that is including women. In this law we think what you have provided here is not good. It's going to be obstructive to the growth of innovation. We think this regulation is unnecessary. So we need everybody to engage properly on both ends in order for this to work.
Wow, thank you so much, Honorable. I think so. From my take from your contribution is first engagement, like engage the stakeholders. Parliamentarians needs to engage with the technocrats and the scientists. You have another point? Okay, but you wanted to add another point? No? Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Here you go.
I think one of the ways that parliaments can invest in terms of increasing
What happened?
one of the ways in which parliaments can improve or increase access to engaging other stakeholders, especially local communities and thematic groups, let's say for disability, for women, for youth, for rural communities and so on, is to also accept that the traditional methods of meeting are no longer enough. So we normally say people must submit position papers, must submit petitions, they must attend public meetings, but that is not enough. A lot of people now have to be engaged using the new media technologies. So parliaments must invest in public relations departments or communications teams that then use facilities such as Facebook, such as Twitter, such as Instagram, such as TikTok, because TikTok is where the young people are. And they have to have a staff member who is youthful enough, who engages young people for their views through live sessions on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. And that way they are able to engage those communities. WhatsApp groups are very popular. Telegram is popular. So we must go to where the people are, and then we'll be able to access them easily. Because if we just use the traditional methods, it won't work. Also now we've got community radio stations. We can use them also to have live sessions where people can even phone in. It increases our ability to engage the communities. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I can't hear myself, but I hope you can hear me. Yes. Yeah, so I think my take to you is like, look at our current status, our current needs, how much resources we have, and then utilize them to reach our people. Like the social media, if we want, let's say, to engage with the young people, we have to look at where young people are now, which is like the social media, and then engage them. Do we have any other contribution? Yes.
It's okay? Yeah.
Switch
It's
it
okay? I
Yeah.
can start? Okay.
switch it on.
Yeah, it's
on.
okay. It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, me I'm Ayobanga, member of parliament in DRC. And it's okay, no?
Yeah.
You can get it. Okay. For me, as I know, the work of in our parliament, the major work we work in commission. The technical work is done in commission before we go on the vote process. So the commission work is normally open to the public, but the problem we have is the public is not informed when and what we are commissioned. Even us, ourselves, as member of parliament, I'm a member of the telecom commission, but I'm not informed when the agriculture commission they are doing their work. Even if I'm allowed to participate, but I don't get the information. So first of all, we have to make it transparent, to put like a public calendar to show the public what we are doing, when we are doing. This commission is sitting on which law, so anyone who is interested will get the information and come. When we are doing the work in the commission, we have our expert who help us to understand the law. But those experts, they are becoming like a staff of the parliament. They don't give us really genuine idea. They don't even challenge us as they are supposed. But if the information of our work, of our calendar is public, then those people who are really interested on those topics can come and join and participate and contribute in those discussion. Sometimes it happen. Some of the law, we found people who get the information, they came and they really challenge us, and some of the MP changed their mind based on the input they receive from those ones. So I think to improve the participation, the collaboration, is better to make our working calendar public and allow and inform that everyone is allowed to come and contribute.
Wow. Thank you so much. So transparency. Yes, Honorable Catherine.
Now, a very important point that I did not raise. Now, when it comes to internet does not have borders. So even as we plan to do legislation is localized to a country. We must start thinking out of the box to see what we need to do, not just in your own country, but what we need to do regionally and also globally to factor the legislative requirements that can deal with the fact that open internet means there are no borders. Therefore, how do we deal with the issue of passing a law over a situation that is not just local? So we will need to allow innovation to happen. But when it comes to passing laws that must protect human rights, must ensure safety, must ensure security, we need to start thinking out of the box. For instance, when you have the abuse or child abuse facilitated through internet, just to use the example of that as one of the harms that are coming with engagement on the internet, we would need to start thinking out of the box. How do you deal with the fact that the pedophile is in America, the server is in Asia, and the child who's being molested is in Tanzania? How does the criminal law protection for such a situation look like? So we will need, beyond just doing a law for Kenya, a law for Zimbabwe, we will need, that's why we are saying in APNIG, what are these minimums that we can put in every country to provide protections while ensuring that what we have around innovation in our own specific countries may be different, will be different, but we must factor the fact that internet does not have borders. And that is a conversation that IGF, the United Nations, the regional bodies, AU, and the other sub-regional bodies and globally must start thinking in order to guide. And as I said, for instance, in IPU, we are developing a charter on ethics, the ethics of science and technology, so that we then are able to agree on minimums that can ensure such protections.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for adding that point. And because of time, allow me to please move to the third pillar, which is on Africa unique challenges and opportunities. So, given the Africa unique context, what strategies can address geopolitical challenges and infrastructure gaps while ensuring digital policies empower all citizens? To the audience and to my online participants, anyone who wants to give a contribution on that, feel free. This is the networking session. Yeah. Where's the mic? Oh. Turn it on. Yeah.
Okay, could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. My name is Kei Gong. I was a parliamentary. My name is Kei Gong. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was a parliamentary member of China, and now I serve to the World Federation of Engineering Organizations. And we think engineering capacity is a key factor for the development, especially in Africa, to grasp the big opportunity of digital technology to develop Africa continent. So the World Federation of Engineering Organizations is working on an initiative, 10 years long initiative called of Engineering Capacity Building for Africa, supported by UNIDO, UNESCO, and so on and so forth. We're going to launch this program next year in Africa. Perhaps we're starting from Kenya, Ethiopia, South Africa, and we're going to build a number of engineering capacity building centers in African countries. So we really need your support, because in China, our experience is that to develop a country, we need hard and soft side. For the hard part, we need infrastructure. We need invest to infrastructure, especially the digital public infrastructure. It's so important. And the capacity building in education should also be emphasized to give more investment into this domain and to build the capacity to make full use of those infrastructure to make economic growth. So I just talk about this, and we need your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the opportunity for the collaboration of initiatives. So I believe we have honorables here. Yeah, yes, Honorable Haji.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone, honorable members, and everyone here. Now, with Africa, there are very unique challenges when we talk about the digital transformation. But the good thing about it, the African Union actually has created a pathway, which is a master plan called the African Digital Strategy, or 2020-2030. That is, in very clear terms, tells countries or member states what do we need to do. And the key thing in that area is the digital infrastructure. That must be in the forefront. Because any building that doesn't have a good foundation, you are bound to fail. And this critical infrastructure is fundamental, is at the bottom, which means countries actually have to ensure that those critical infrastructure is in place. Then every other thing else is the building block can come on top of that. And the other one aspect is about education, like the capacity building my colleague has just spoken about. We must look at the way we teach in our curriculum. I keep saying this all the time. But even if we have the infrastructure, but the curriculum in our senior secondary school, in our universities do not match really where we want to go, we will not get there very quickly. So the infrastructure we build, together with the curriculums we teach in our schools, must match, so that those students that are graduating, the professors, etc., can actually help to align everything so that we can get to where we need to get to. So the capacity building, which is the education, is actually crucial. The other one also is about collaboration. We live in a world where collaboration is necessary. My colleague previously talked about security, but security is everybody's business. You cannot secure Kenya and you live Tanzania. You cannot secure Tanzania and you live Gambia. You cannot secure Gambia and you live Senegal. It doesn't work. Now, the trend now in Africa is about creating laws called mutual legal assistance. That's what we have done in Gambia, where we collaborate with our neighbor in case there's something happens in the Gambia, but the person who committed the crimes in Senegal, because of that law called mutual legal assistance, Gambia and Senegal can work together to ensure that person is apprehended. Now, with the way things are going now, you will see that somebody is going to be in one country, use another system in a different country to commit a crime in a third country. Now, how do we ensure that we work together? And this is exactly where we members of parliament, we have to take keen interest in the mutual legal assistance laws that we actually have, or if you don't have, you need to think about it. We already passed ours 2 years ago in the Gambia, but it's very essential, the region that you work in, the region that you are in, to ensure that you actually have that, and cross-regional and also then intercontinental. We have the Interpol, yes, but we also have the AfriPol. The AfriPol is really very active in the fighting cyber crimes, capacitating the police forces across the continent, and at the same time helping also in investigation, but they cannot prosecute. They investigate and give to member country, and we move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable. So capacity building and collaboration. Any other contribution? Let me see if I have any contribution from online. I don't. So any other contribution from on site? No contribution? Okay, so since there's no contribution on that, now I would like us to have a closing takeaway session, right? Yeah, so we had a long discussion. We have discussed about a lot of things, and we had like the 3 pillars that we had different questions that we discussed on. So now I'm opening again the floor to the audience. So what are the key takeaway that you have taken from today's discussion? The key takeaway, something that you want to take back at your home country, something that you have learned, something that you want to take to your organization. What is something that you have learned from the discussion? Yes. Can I get assistance to pass the mic?
On my view, what I learned is that as a parliament, we have to know that when you are dealing with internet governance, we are not putting law just for our own pleasure. We are putting law that will impact other people's life. So we have to first of all to make sure that we are getting their input, and we have to be the one to make the first step toward them, going and look for them, not just working in our room and waiting for them to come to us. We have to make that approach to look for them, to make sure that we have all input from them, and that will be able to put in place a better governance that will be better for all of us, because even if we are the parliament that either we are young, we are women, we are also part of that world. So it's better for us to be the one to make the first step and to go toward those other stakeholders, and to make sure we get their input before working on the law.
Thank you. That was a very good takeaway.
Thank you very much. Maybe just to add on what he has said, as my name is Susan Dose, Member of Parliament from Malawi. Just to mention that we really need to collaborate more, because if we do it alone, we will not get there. As Africa, we really need to have one voice. As parliamentarians, we have to work with other stakeholders to make sure that we come up with laws which will really help us as Africa. Maybe just to mention that sometimes, most of the times, parliamentarians are left aside. When it comes to maybe coming up with laws, we are at the end, at the receiving end. When we receive that law, when we go and maybe do some consultations, it's at the end of everything. I remember one time we had a conversation with the Ministry of Justice in Malawi, where we were told we have done this already, and what we just want to hear from you as members of parliament is what's your take. But it was at the end. They have already done benchmarking, they had already done everything, and they're coming to us at the end. They want our input, which we even said, even whatever we can say at this point won't be taken seriously. So I think we have to be consulted. We have to work together from the start up to the end, so that whatever we input in these laws that we even pass in Parliament, we are able to know that this is what we are passing. Because it's not good to come to Parliament and then we say we are passing this law. At the end of the day, we are the ones who do oversight. At the end of the day, compliance is not there. People are not complying. They're not doing anything. They are not following the laws that we have made. Because even us as members of parliament, we were sidelined maybe in the development of those laws. So we really need to work together, collaborate more with other stakeholders, and have one voice and as a team. Thank you.
Okay, so engagement and consultations from the beginning, engaging the parliamentarians. So to my panelists now, any closing, something that you would want to say before we close?
Thank you very much. A number of things I would want to say. One, all sectors have laws that are currently guiding the sectors, but with the digital technology, my view is that all those sector laws would have to be reviewed. For instance, now telemedicine. The current public health law in Kenya provides for all matters medicine, but it has not contemplated how liability would look like where a consultant in Tokyo is providing services to the clients. So we will need to relook at that. It is the same thing with the criminal. We've always had cross-border collaboration around criminal matters. But crimes committed through the internet, we have not thought through that properly. So usually you've had bilateral agreements where you agree with country X on dealing with each other. But our laws have not yet provided that. So one of the things that was happening in Kenya, even the judiciary has to be trained on how to innovate and adjust and adapt to deal with crimes that are committed over the internet. So what I'm saying is that with the digital technology, we will need adjustments in policies cross-border. I like the point that has been made by the World Engineering Organization that we also need capacities to be enhanced in Africa, not just within the school curriculum, but even with other communities. Even basic digital skills, we will need to provide that basic education, for instance, to the traditional mother in the village who is selling vegetables, but is using the man next door's mobile to receive the money and is paying a commission on something very small. So if we start doing communities around of internet to actually give that basic education to that mother, to the senior citizens, we will grow the economies. We will also protect them from local little frauds that actually undermine them. And then if you look at the sector, like the employment sector, we also need to start looking at the exploitation we have young people employed in Africa being paid $2 an hour, and they are doing exactly the same job of somebody in America being paid $20 or $30 for the same thing. So we will need to start bringing in ethics so that we don't have exploitation of the fact that the African or other countries' labor regimes are not good. So my view is that there is plenty for us to do, and there is plenty for us to learn, and we hope that as you bring in parliamentarians and give them capacities, you will help to fast track getting the correct frameworks that we need in order to enhance digital technology in Africa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Catherine. Anything you want to say? You're good? Okay, so I'd like to thank each one of you, including my online participants, for engaging actively in this session. I'm looking forward to seeing you around in other sessions and engage with you. Have a great day.